Is it time to pull the cord? In this podcast episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a concept called pull the cord. It's something I've created over the last 12 months or so in response to actually trying to control my extreme tendencies, my burnout, and basically acknowledging that when you're heading for the hole, so if you're ever exhausted or burnt out or overcooking it, understanding when to pull the cord. In this podcast episode, I'm actually going to do a bit of a freestyle. So the main concept really, I just wanted to be able to communicate this idea of pulling the cord, because my closest friends, clients, business partners, fellow entrepreneurs who understand the concept now of pulling the cord, it's been an absolute game changer. So if you don't know what that is yet, this is the main objective of this episode. However, also, I'm going to do a bit of a freestyle because on a few podcast episodes recently, one with Akash from RNT when we did six rounds, and the second with Josh Keegan, we've talked about extremism, we've talked about drive, we've talked about being a masochist and burnout. And I'm just going to do a bit of a freestyle because this time of year is perfect. You can only fix the roof when it's raining. And in the middle of championship season, where it is full tilt, where we're beginning to see the cracks appear, and you can only fix the roof when it's raining, it's a really good time to explore it. So I'm going to explain pull the cord, and then I'm going to give a bit of a freestyle just about the thoughts I've had recently, the experiences, and I'm sure for some of you, you'll be able to resonate and relate. So pulling the cord is essentially, if you were to go on your WhatsApp or any other GIF libraries that you have and type in the hole, there's basically a GIF of a guy base jumping into a hole. And what we say about is when you're burnt out or you're overcooked it or you're in the depths of the grind or a weight cut and you've actually burnt yourself out, we talk about being in the hole. And when you're in the hole, the danger with it is you don't understand how much in the hole you were until you come out of it, because it happens so gradually. It's the same way as if you're cutting weight or you're putting on weight or you're picking up bad habits or you're getting the benefit from good habits. It's very rare that they happen overnight. You tend to organically, gradually, bit by bit, pick up these good or bad habits, and then you end up at a point where either, in the good scenario, everything's happened, you're doing your photo shoot, it's amazing. In the worst case scenario, you're up at 4 a.m, you're on your phone 8 hours, 6 hours a day, whatever is a high amount. All of this stuff is sort of taken over, and you're in a bad place. You're burnt out, you're exhausted, you've picked up a load of bad habits, and we don't want that. So we call it death by 1,000 cuts. Like, it's death by 1,000 cuts. So when you're in that hole, you don't realize you're in the hole until you actually start to come out of it, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize how deep I was in the hole. And what we talk about with pulling the cord is the more times you do this. So I've been doing this 20 years this year. This is my 20th year of going around the track. It's my 10th year of teaching people how to go around the track. And without fail, every year when it gets to championship season, which is the summer, like now, the days are long, the energy levels are high, the workload's huge, there's deals, there's expansion, there's campaigns, there's sales, and it's very, very easy to end up in a difficult position. Having had last year where I took loads of time off and really didn't enjoy it, this year coming back was a game of a few halves, really, or a game of a few journeys. So I came back into it, and when I started getting back into work and stopped vilifying work and started to enjoy it, having forced myself into retirement last year and not really enjoyed it, removing that stress and pressure to where I've been vilifying work, I actually started to enjoy it. And it got to a point in maybe January, February, March, winter hit list underway, activities going on, starting to see some great results. And I had this really great experience of being driven again, being engaged again, being motivated again. I remember speaking actually to Akash and saying, I've missed this so much. I really enjoyed this. But then also in the back of my head, I was thinking, it's only going to be a matter of time before I completely overcook this. And this is the danger with burnout, with being a masochist, with addiction. I don't really know what part of it is that trips me up, but all I know is it's very consistent and it's very predictable. And when we talk about pulling the cord, it's identifying these traits. I mean, we can freestyle and talk about whether these traits are good or not in a moment. But when you see these red flags, so Louisa, my life coach, she's been my life coach for maybe 6 years, 5 or 6 years. And one of the things she's come to realize in the last few years is rather than trying to stop me from burning out or going extreme. So I always say, why do I always go silly with it? Why do I go crazy? She says, what we want to do is, if we just appreciate you are a feast and famine person, you are all in or all out. I'm either cutting weight, never drinking again, on my AAA game, training 5 times a week, running marathons, or I'm completely off. I'm drinking alcohol. I haven't been to the gym in 3 days, and I'm the other end of the spectrum. It's like I am this sort of extremist characteristic. He said, rather than try and not have these extreme characteristics, why don't we just identify where the red flags are? She calls them red flags. And the idea is that if you're heading down to the bottom of the hole, on the way down, there's red flags before you hit the bottom. And when we see the red flags, we pull the cord. And when we pull the cord, the parachute comes up, it takes you to the top of the hole again. And then you can obviously, you're balanced, you're ready to go. And then you'll start to head down again in due course. But the aim of the game is we don't cause ourselves injury, we don't burn ourselves out, and we spot these things. So this is the first thing, is like if you've had track record of this, experience of this, being burnt out, what are those red flags for you? Mine are things like my workouts become a slog. If I'm in the gym and lifting weights is a slog, it's a classic sign that I'm burnt out. If I have what do you call them? If I have styes on my eye, if I get a sty on my eye, that's a classic sign that my body's burning out. If I get an ulcer in my mouth, it's a classic sign that I'm burning out. If I'm waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, just waking up 2 o'clock, ready to go, full of energy, it's a classic sign. All of these things are like my red flags that I'm going to burn out. And then what we do is we pull the cord. So last week, I took a few days golfing. And the mistake I made, so I already knew I was burnt out, or I was on the verge. I took 3 days golfing, but rather than actually take 3 days golfing, what I did was I half-arsed work. So I got up early, smashed my workout, then I half-arsed golf, went out, played golf. Then I came back, did some work, and it was like Jim Rohn says, when you work, play. But I was half working, half playing. I didn't do my best because I was supposed to be on holiday. I didn't enjoy the holiday and I didn't make the most of the holiday because I was half-arsed in my work. Because rather than say I'm not at work, I'm taking time off, I was ramming every bit of time in I could to do the work, and it wasn't good. And it got to Thursday, Friday, and I was like, I'm feeling burnt out. I'm feeling exhausted. My workouts are a slog. This isn't working. I'm pulling the cord. So the weekend, Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock, I pulled the cord. Phone off, laptop off, buried them both in the garden, and went off to the woods literally for 3 days with my partner in the woods, in a tree house, off grid, chilling out, walking, clean food, just literally like relaxing, sleeping, reading, doing nothing, just sitting there doing nothing. And now it's Monday and I feel good again. I feel motivated again. I feel I've just about saved myself from myself. So that's the concept I wanted to communicate in today's episode, was pulling the cord. And in championship season, if you feel like you're overcooking it, or you're close to the wire, or you're redlining, then that's the time to pull the cord and pull it properly. Don't half-arse it, go golfing with your mates in the afternoon, but still attempt to work in the morning. Off-grid, recharge, do yourself justice, and do that. And then the wider context, just for a bit of freestyle, is why do we do it? Why do we do that? And when I got interviewed by Josh, he had a good question. He said, why do you feel it's necessary to go all in and all out? And I've just thought, why is that? Like, is it an addiction? Am I like addicted? And I said to Josh, if you've not listened to the 6-round episode, you can go and listen to it. I said to Josh, but do you not need that adrenaline? Like, do you not need that like hit of something, to get that hit? Or do you feel like if you could work 7 hours a day, but you only worked 4, do you feel like you've done your best job? Surely, I mean, this is obviously, I'm arguing the toss on both sides, because I would like to not work. If I've got 7 hours to work, I would like to perhaps not work 7 hours and have a couple of hours for myself. But then I think, when I'm in championship season and I've got records to break and targets to hit, so I signed up for this and I want to do this. If I want to do the best that I can and deliver the best results, do I have to do it? Like, if I had 7 hours to spend and I didn't spend 7 hours on it, would I, like, in my head, I just can't understand why I would do that. You know, surely putting more effort in is going to release better results. And surely if you put more time into it, it's going to be more effective. And surely if you didn't give it everything you've got, you're going to leave stuff on the table. You know, like if you want to be a gold medalist, world champion, record-breaking marathon runner, the example I gave in the podcast with Josh, is like nobody crosses the line like having a cup of tea and reading the paper. It's like you do that. So it's like, well, how does that actually work in practice? Because then you think, well, what are those layers? Like when we talk about the what, that if you're not listening to the previous podcast episode, the perfect profile, the what is the best of things, the worst of things. The best of things is I can get stuff done. I can break records. I can make things happen. I can scale incredible businesses. But the worst of things is it burns me out. It exhausts me. It can get to the law of diminishing returns. Elon Musk talks about after about anything less than about 6 or 7 hours sleep is the false economy, because you have less sleep. It makes you less productive. You're less motivated, and it just becomes a slog, like the workouts when you're tired. So it's like, right, why is it? Is it an addiction? You know, is it constantly got to chase something, whether it's running a marathon or it's a weight cut or it's a marketing campaign or a sales target or doing deals? You know, what is it? Where does that drive and addiction come from? Why do you have to push it so hard? Why do some people... There was a study done years ago about babies. And for those of you that have got kids or grandkids, there was a study done about the difference people... There's some children that will always leave a bit of food. And you probably know people like that. Some people that would always leave... Well, it doesn't matter what it is. They'll always leave a bit of food. And there's others that wouldn't leave a scrap. You know, everything on their plate, they'd eat up. And they followed them through the journey of their lives, and it played out that there was a similarity. You know, those that were able to have that portion control and left a bit and weren't like, not gimme, but like trying to get it all in, actually became more sort of balanced and work-life balance and smooth sailing. Whereas those who wanted to completely clear the plate became like gold champions, entrepreneurs, high performers, you know, because they wanted this like chase. And I'm not saying there's a good or bad. In fact, what I'm saying in this capacity is that actually it's probably bad to be the extremist. But, you know, where's the rules? Where's the balance? What's the reason? Why do we do it? It's just very, very strange. And if it's not, I was chatting to somebody at the weekend saying, if it's not hurting, it's not working. So when you're doing a weight cut, it's very easy to start having smaller meals, reducing your portion size lower than you should, skipping meals. And it's like, because in your head you think bigger is better, you know, bigger deficit must be better. But actually it's a complete false economy. And you think, oh, if I want progress, I need to have some pain. I need to be pushing myself. And then you get into the conversation of work ethic. And you're like, right, well, it's my work ethic. You know, the idea of not doing, I could be working on a Wednesday afternoon, but instead I'm going to go and, obviously there's a balance. You know, this is very much burnout, championship season, all in conversation. But it's like, if your work ethic is that the more you put in, there's obviously 3 layers. When we get started, it's all about working hard. When we scale, it's about working smart and hard. Smart, build a team, delegate. Hard, to break through when you're bootstrapping. And then after that, there's a logic that it's just being smart. You know, if you want to be a Warren Buffett and you've done all the hard work, the smart and the hard work, you could just be smart. You could sit at home, you could read 8 hours a day, you can do 2 or 3 big deals a year, and you can make your money if you're Warren Buffett. If, however, you're Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, you're probably working every hour that God sends. Alex Hormozy, probably the most recent case study. And then it's like, right, well, which is right? Which is wrong? Is it personal preference? Probably is. Why do we work hard? Why do we push ourselves to burnout? Is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Does it make it feel good? Us feel good? Does it make it feel bad? And it's this whole dichotomy around why we do it, you know, why we burn ourselves out. So I just thought I'd share that with you because it's something I play with every year. It's something that keeps getting tabled last 2 or 3 years, keeps getting tabled. Is, why do we do it? Why do we carry on doing it? Why do we burn ourselves out? Why is it necessary to push yourself to that level? Is that actually where growth occurs, as Akash and I talked about on our 6 rounds? Or are we completely missing the point, as we talked about on mine and Josh's 6 rounds? It's really interesting. And I'm sure there's, everyone's going to be in their own journey. Everyone's going to be doing their own thing. And I suppose the ultimate thing is what actually makes you happy, what makes you content. On Advance next year, on Property Entrepreneur, we're going to be introducing a brand new blueprint called The Perfect Day. Because I had some coaching from a Navy SEAL coach who used to, after I sold Multi-Let UK, I had some live coaching from the Navy SEAL coach who brings Navy SEALs out of service and brings them back into basically normal society. And she said the thing is like the perfect day. You want to set that perfect day out. What would the perfect day look like? And then work to that. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's all, all very interesting. But the main concept for this episode was pull the cord. Was understand when you need to pull the cord. Understand when your team and your partners and your family need to pull the cord. And, of course, keep an eye on your red flags and know when you need to pull the cord. Pull it, recharge, get ready to go again, and smash it out of the park, championship season, and the outcome will, I'm sure, be inevitable. So pulling the cord, don't burn out. Success and failure, both very predictable, and whether your workload is manageable or you're an absolute masochist, watch out for those red flags, take care in the championship season, and I will see you on the next episode. Success and failure are both very predictable.